Everybody, it is your boy MTG Wizard, and today we are back with another deck tech video. The deck today is called, oh my gosh, look at all these elementals. And before we start today, please remember to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. Let's get into it. Alright, first, we're starting off with Arisen Reef. Whenever Arisen Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. But if you don't put the card on the battlefield, put it into your hand. It costs 3 mana, and it's a 1/1. We have 2 copies of that. The Arisen Reef is a big part of this deck, and I will tell you in a minute why we only have 2. Next, Omnath, Locust of the Royal. 4 mana, 3/3. When Omnath, Locust of the Royal enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put 1/1 counter on target elemental you control. If you control 8 or more lands, draw a card. This is a really nice card for our deck, and hopefully we'll be drawing him. Next, we have Lightning Stormkin. It is a 2/2 flyer for 2 with haste. This is just a good attacker for the early game. We have 2 copies of that. Next, Frost Lynx. 3 mana for a 2/2. When Frost Lynx enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Now, here, the reason why I only have 2 copies of Arisen Reef in this deck is because I do not have the required number that I would like. So, cards that you could take out of the deck to put the extra 2 Arisen Reefs in are the 2 copies of Frost Lynx. So, just because Frost Lynx, it's not a really big part of this deck, but the Arisen Reef is, so we have to put the right amount of copies of that card in our deck. Okay, we're moving on. Next card, Unsummon. 1 mana for an instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. I think we all know what that card is. Alright, 2 copies of that. Moving on. Cloudkin Seer. Flying 2/1 for 3. When Cloudkin Seer enters the battlefield, draw a card. This is just a really good card to trigger off our Arisen Reef. And we're just going to be drawing another card in addition to the Arisen Reef trigger. So we have 4 copies of that. Next, we have a Cancel. Cancel is a 3 mana instant, and it says counter target spell. Plain and simple, straight to the point. Let's get on with it. Next, Air Elemental. A 4/4 for fly with a 4/4 for 5 with flying. Tripped up there. So this is just a nice creature to get out of the battlefield in the late game. Good blocker. And next, we only have 1 copy of that. Next, we have Convolute. We have a good number of counter spells in this deck, just to keep anyone from targeting our Arisen Reef. So, Convolute. 3 mana for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 mana. This is just a really good counter spell. It's cheap, and most of the time your opponent will not be able to play that 4 mana. So it's really good. We have 1 copy of that. Next, Rewind from M21. 4 mana for an instant. Counter target spell untapped up to 4 lands. This is really good, because if you play this and you untap the 4 lands, your opponent might have another thing to destroy something that's on your battlefield, and if you have another counterspell in your hand, then this is just able to leave up some open mana to play that counterspell. 1 copy of that. Next, Chandra's Magma. Look at that. That's beautiful. I love the flames on this. The flames on the bottom. I loved how Wizards of the Coast just changed up things, and it just looks really beautiful. Chandra's Magma. 2 mana for an elemental dog. So I heard that dogs and cats and stuff like that is going to be really common. Is really common in Core Set 2021. Maybe we'll get to go and do a deck tech about that in the future. Leave a comment down below what you would want me to do on the channel, what you would like to see, or what you would like me to open on the channel. Alright. Tap Chandra's Magma. It deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. We got 2 of those. 1 of the showcase, 1 of not the non-showcase. Next, Igneous Cur. Another elemental dog. 2 mana for a 1/2. And it has a mana ability for 2 mana. Igneous Cur gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So I assume you see that we have a lot of low costing elemental creatures in this deck so far, because we just want to keep getting so many triggers, keep getting all these triggers. And in one game, I actually got down to 1 card, and my board was huge with all these elemental creatures. And then I just swung in and I activated this ability a couple times, and I just destroyed my opponent. Because even though I only had 1 card left in my deck, all those elementals, and I have a lot of flying elementals, it just makes it pretty much impossible for your opponent to block effectively. So we got 2 copies of that. Next, Tectonic Rift. 4 mana for a sorcery. Destroy target land. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. So this card is just really nice to play when you have a lot of mana on the board, a lot of untapped mana on the board, and you're not playing against a Flyers deck. This is just good to end the game. Good way to end the game, where you just swing with everything. All your elementals are attacking, and your opponent can't do anything about it. So we got 2 copies of that. Next, we got Chandra's Embercat. 2 mana for a 2/2. Tap it, add 1 mana. 1 red mana. Spend this mana only to cast an elemental spell or a Chandra Planeswalker spell. So we do not have a Chandra Planeswalker spell in this deck. But I put this in because we have all our creatures are elementals. So it makes sense to just put this in for ramp. We have 2 copies of that. Excuse me. Next, we have Chandra's Outrage. 4 mana for an instant. Chandra's Outrage deals 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. This is just good, really good, and just in case you don't have a super commanding board state, and your opponent just is a low life total, and you just wanna, like, maybe he's at 3 life, and you have a flyer on the board, which is the Lightning Stormkin. So this is just kind of like a backup plan in a way. So we got one of that. We got Scampering Scorcher. 4 mana for a 1/1. When Scampering Scorcher enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. Elementals you control gain haste until end of turn. So this is just good to get a bunch of triggers on our Arisen Reef. I would have put more copies of this card in the deck, but I just felt like I could have put I could keep the how it is in this deck, how everything is in this deck now, but because I don't know, maybe I'll make an update on this deck one day, and I'll have more copies of Scampering Scorcher. But we only got one copy of that. Fire Elemental, 5 mana for a 5/4. No abilities, just a good blocker and attacker. Lavakin Brawler, 4 mana for a 2/4. When it attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each elemental I control. Well, you guys control. So this is just good because we're going to be getting a lot of elementals on the battlefield, and this could get really big. I've gotten this up to deal about 24. Yeah, 24. 24/4. So this should just get really big, really fast, and it can end games just like that. So we got one of that. Alright, I'm gonna try to fix this pile here. Next, we got Vorse Claw. 6 mana for a 7/7. That is pretty nice. This is just to put a nice big creature on the battlefield. That's pretty much all it is, and also just for triggers. Next, Leafkin Druid. 2 mana for a 0/3. Add 1 mana. If you control 4 more creatures, add 2 instead. This is just to be for, because it's a low cost creature, and we want to have low cost creatures to trigger our Arisen Reef. So, and also this is just good ramp. 2 of that. Thicket Crasher. 4 mana for a 4/3. Trample. Other elementals you control have trample. This is just good because we're going to be having a lot of elementals, and hopefully we'll be able to we'll just be able to attack with all of them, and they'll just have trample. That'll be really nice, really sweet. 2 Thicket Crashers. Healer of the Glade, a 1 mana 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. This is just here for triggers and the gain in life part of it. Alright, we got 2 of that. Now we're going on to the lands. You can change the lands up as much as you want, doesn't matter. But this is how I thought it would work best. We have 3 copies of Thornwood Falls. We have 2 copies of Swiftwater Cliffs, 3 copies of Rugged Highlands. We have 6 islands. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forests. So remember, you can change this up as much as you want. Add your own thing to the deck, your own feel. Make it how you want it, and have fun. The most important part is have fun while you're playing it. And trust me, you will. Alright. Just remember right now to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.